So we're here. This is the Greater St. Louis Book Fair, which I've never been to before, so I don't know anything about the selection, the prices, nothing, but I'm super excited. The parking lot's huge. It's completely filled. Fingers crossed. I know a lot of these places, they have donated books, so it's a lot of old books and like old bestsellers, but there's normally some gems if you look for them. This is my first time vlogging in the real world, so we'll see how much footage I get for you that I'm brave enough to take. Let's go! I went on a Friday and I knew it would be most likely crowded, even though I'd never been before because us Midwesterners love a good deal, but holy guacamole, it was packed. There were so many people. Ugh, bananas. And these things can be a bit hit or miss because oftentimes they get their books donated to them. So it can be a lot of old books and not necessarily like cool old books, more just like musty books that have been in someone's like basement since the 90s, or like old bestsellers that like Oprah recommended 20, 30 years ago. So always a little hit or miss, but they had a really good selection. They had some newer books, they had some pristine books, they had like the cool old books or like kind of hard to find books, and it was a good time, you know. And going into it, I had all of these ambitious goals for what I was going to film. Like I was going to like film me looking at the books, I was going to film like me going through the aisles. No, there was too many people, and after 3 hours, I was pooped because it was like concrete flooring. And then I found books that I wanted, so then I was like carrying them the whole 3 hours. And yeah, best of intentions, but that got nixed pretty quickly. So I have some footage, but not a ton. And I thought I'd just go over the books that I got, because I got 13 books for $20, which is pretty awesome. Now the crazy thing is when I was waiting in line to check out, which was huge, there was like 50 people in line at any one time, I was talking to the lady in front of me, and she told me that at the beginning of August there's a book fair in St. Charles. Do I need more books? No. Am I probably gonna go? Yes. So stay tuned for that. Okay, people, I don't have a lot to say about each individual book because I haven't read them. Bear with me, but I'm excited and I wanted to share them with you. So hopefully you'll have some excitement with me. I don't know. And let's get into the books I got. Whoop, 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 whoop. So if you know anything about me, I love mass market paperback size books. They're so great. They're handy. And I don't know, you just can fit so much more on a bookshelf. They're cheaper, they're more compact. So I got Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery, and I'm actually going to be reading this for a different video, so stay tuned. But it was mass market paperback. It was $1. It had a cool cover. Had to get it. Next we have Per Grolt. I said that like it was German, but it's French, by Balzac. I've heard a lot about Balzac, haven't read anything by him, and I recently just finished the audiobook This Is Your Mind on Plants, which talked about how like Cocoa Banana Puffs, he was about coffee. And I'm like, okay, it's about time. And like, again, mass market paperback, dope ass cover, why not? I'm pretty sure this one is about an old merchant who sacrifices his fortune to help his daughters gain entrance to society, only to die a pauper's death alone and without friends. So happy read. Next, we have Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami, and I think this is a UK edition, but I really like the cover. Mass market paperback. I'm a broken record, I know. But Murakami is really popular, and I have a friend who's obsessed, and so I'm like, this is one of his more well-known books, I think, so I figured I'd give it a try, and why not? Next, as another mass market paperback, we have Joan Didion's The White Album. And I saw a documentary, I think last year, about Joan, and I've been hankering to read some of her work ever since. It just starts off bold. Like, I don't know, my taste in literature has changed over the years, especially nonfiction, but the first sentence of this is, "We tell ourselves stories in order to live. The princess is caged in the consulate. The man with the candy will lead the children into the sea." Hot damn. And then the last of the mass market paperbacks is The Female Hero in Folklore and Legend by Tristram Potter Coffin. And this just kind of just drew my attention. Kind of a unique book setup. You got badass girl with a gun on the back. And I'm intrigued. Like, I'm curious by the idea of these like famous female figures that we grew up with and what's true and what's not about them. Next, we have The Best American Travel Writing by Paul Theroux. He is a really great and witty travel writer. I've read several of his books and I want to read more travel writing. And so I figured, even though anthologies are a bit hit or miss, if it's edited by him, then it might have a similar style of humor or beauty in describing scenery and things like that. So I'm excited. Next is a book I had never even heard of before, but once I read a little bit into it, I had to get it. It's A Sense of the World: How a Blind Man Became History's Greatest Traveler by Jason Roberts. And it was a National Book Critics Circle Award finalist. And so reading the back of this, I realized I don't think I read a single book about a blind person, period, much less a nonfiction biography about a dude who like was blind and was like, well, still gonna travel the world. And it's like back in the 1800s. I'm excited. It sounds like a really interesting story and a really interesting dude. So fingers crossed. Then we have The Psychopath Test: A Journey Through the Madness Industry by John Ronson. This was a fun find. I've read his other book, So You've Been Publicly Shamed, and I thought it was interesting, so I thought I would give this one a gander. I'm pretty sure I listened to a short TED Talk by him that covered some of the research that he did for this book, and it was very intriguing. I'm a nerd. I love learning new things. I'm excited to dig in. This next book was actually a book I was going to get for a friend, and that is Haruki Murakami's Colorless Tsukuru Tazaki. Like I said, I have a friend who is a Murakami nerd, and this is like the edition style of all the books of his that she's gotten. So I was asking her if she needed this one still, and she didn't, of course. There's no such thing as a casual Murakami fan. And then I was looking into it, and I'm like, actually, this might be interesting. Maybe I'll just get it for myself. It's $2. Why not? You know, what can go wrong? Let me read you the first bit of why I was like, maybe I just need to pick this up. From July of his sophomore year in college until the following January, all Tsukuru Tazaki could think about was dying. He turned 20 during this time, but this special watershed, becoming an adult, meant nothing. Taking his own life seemed the most natural solution, and even now he couldn't say why he hadn't taken this final step. Crossing that threshold between life and death would have been easier than swallowing down a slick, raw egg. So, yeah, it was just weird and intriguing, and I'm like, maybe I'll give it a shot. Next. God, I keep saying next, and it's going to bother me so much in editing. Then I was really happy to find a book by Colette. And this is exciting because, you know, you don't see Colette's books a whole lot in bookstores, and when you do, it's normally related to the book she's most well known for nowadays. So this one's called The Pure and the Impure, and I think it's one of her like sexy time novels. So I'm excited about it. I'm kind of on a Colette rabbit hole because I was reading a short story collection of hers, and the introduction about her and her life was so fascinating. I had to read more, find out more. Normally I hate introductions because they are either full of spoilers or boring AF, but this one, top notch. Just got me really excited to read more of her stuff. I don't know anything about this particular book, but given the cover might be queer. We have 3 more to go, folks, so hold in there. Next, we have The Razor's Edge by W. Somerset Maugham. We're going to pretend that's how it's pronounced. So this is the cover, and Uncarly on YouTube recommended it, and she compared it to F. Scott Fitzgerald's work, The Great Gatsby, and I really love The Great Gatsby, so it was a shoo-in once I saw it. I'm like, yes, sure, sold. Next, this was an exciting find because, again, I live in the Midwest, so finding books that are by authors that are not American or not white is a little bit tricky. But I found The Setting Sun by Osamu Dezaki, and he is like a prolific Japanese writer, and he writes in this novel about post-war Japan. of World War II. And I had read The Artist of the Floating World by Ishiguro and really loved it. And that's also post-World War II Japan. And so I thought I'd grab this and dive more into it. And last but not least, we have Annie John by Jamaica Kincaid. I read a little bit of Jamaica Kincaid's work before, one nonfiction, one fiction, and I really like her work, so I'm happy to have a chance to read some more of hers. So I've read Lucy by her, which is the fiction that I read, and then I also read A Small Place, which is about where she grew up, kind of essays on her thoughts about colonialization and things like that. And there you have it. I'm like super excited, super proud of myself because I put some books back, but I think I got a really clutch collection of books from this book haul. Pretty stoked. Books that aren't easy to find, books that if you did find them would not be for this price range. And I mean, $20? Can't wait to start reading some of these, and I'll let you know what I think of them when I do. So comment down below, have you read any of these books? Which one should I read first? Funny, because like so many people go into these book fairs with lists, and I'm like, are you that confident that you'll find the books on your list? Are they that common? Also, I have like 5 million books that I want, so it would be crazy for me to come in with a list. Like, I'd just be spending all day like scrolling through Goodreads. But because I used to work at a bookstore, I am like really good at like quick browsing and being like, that's the gem, that's the hidden treasure that you're not going to be able to find super easy elsewhere, or like a really dope cover where you're like, ooh, that's a winner. There we go. It's a wrap, fam. All right, bye. So, if you know me, am I in focus? Focus. Have I been out of focus this whole time? Am I in focus? Okay. If I am out of focus this whole time, I'm gonna be so cranky. Yes? Maybe?